All women are different, but they are all women. This video is androcentric from a men's point of view and is presented as opinion, commentary, and debate. Expressing opinions is not violence. These are ideas to challenge, question, and argue in public, because classical liberalism relies on the First Amendment for its dialectic. If you are a feminist, then consider this. If patriarchy truly existed as claimed, feminism could not. And if all men are trash and women are equal to men, then what are we to conclude? Women will die for their children. Men will die for their wives and children, and God chose to die for all mankind. Authority rolls up with responsibility. If this framing of facts offends you, click off to a cute cat video. Proceeding further will expose you to gamma bias and criticism directed at ideas, claims, institutions, not at any individual's virtue or dignity. Our method follows the 7 liberal arts, the trivium, grammar, logic, rhetoric, and the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy, and the transcendentals, the good, true, and beautiful. If this framework is not for you, feel free to exit now. It's no disgrace. Women are wonderful. God bless America. Men are great. Feminismus delendus est. Postmodern Evil, Demolishing the Master's House, written by Conrad Riker. Available now, links in description. Postmodern Evil, a field guide for men who still notice reality. The Sleep Short Insurrection, dismantling somnofascism and the gamma bias killing Western logic. I have just read the most terrifying document to emerge from the humanities department since the last time a gender studies major tried to use a toaster. It is a manifesto titled The Loom of the Night, and it argues with straight-faced hysteria that a man's preference for his wife not wearing a burlap sack to bed is somnofascism. This is not merely a lie, it is a masterclass in the autoregressive loop of leftist delusion. We are watching semantic inflation in real time, where the meaning of words like fascism and violence is stretched so thin that a man asking for a little visual reciprocity becomes the moral equivalent of Mussolini. This is the gamma bias at work. Male desire is framed as systemic oppression, while female triviality is elevated to a site of revolutionary struggle. While men are checking out of the workforce, committing suicide in record numbers, and being stripped of their children by a gynocentric family court system, the High Coven is busy demanding we center their feeling that sleep shorts are a tool of the patriarchy. They want to replace the trivium, grammar, logic, and rhetoric with lived experience, a mechanism that grants them total immunity from reality and allows them to wield sanction against any man who dares point out that the emperor has no clothes, or in this case, has very unflattering clothes. It is time to dissect this narcissistic solipsism with the scalpel of evolutionary psychology and the sledgehammer of natural law to show you exactly how this game is rigged and why you must stop playing the fool in their theater of resentment.
Debunk article by a feminist PhD. The Loom of the Night, Dismantling Phallogocentric Somnolence. By Dr. Winona, feminist, Marxist PhD. We exist in a state of perpetual emergency, sisters and birthing persons. The fabric of reality is stretched thin over the jagged bones of a dying patriarchy. And every thread of our existence, from the public square to the private sanctuary of our beds, is soaked in the sweat of unearned male privilege. Today, we must confront a pervasive, insidious form of violence that lurks in the shadows of our repose, somnofascism. Somnofascism is the systemic regulation of our rest, the patriarchal imposition that dictates even our unconscious states must be performative, available, and pleasing to the male gaze. It is the invisible hand that throttles us as we dream. Consider the mundane, yet profoundly political, object of the sleep short. To the uninitiated, the bourgeois male locked in his rigid, linear logic, this is merely a garment. But to the high-status observer of cultural semiotics, the sleep short is the front line of the bodily autonomy war. The patriarchal media complex demands that our nightwear be an invitation, a continuum of sexual availability that erases the boundaries of consent. When we choose comfort over display, when we select sleep shorts that obscure rather than reveal, we are not just dressing comfortably. We are engaging in a radical act of withdrawal. We are denying the access rights that the phallus believes it owns. When a man complains that his partner lets herself go in bed, he is expressing the anguish of the colonizer losing territory. This is not an opinion, it is a manifestation of the empathy gap. He cannot see that her comfort is her survival. He sees only the loss of his visual resource. When we demand recognition of this sartorial sovereignty, we are not asking for a compliment. We are demanding the dismantling of the idea that female bodies exist to be aesthetically consumed, 24 hours a day. We must weaponize our voices to enforce this new reality. I present to you the essential speaker tips for the cultural revolutionary. When engaging with the aggressive ignorance of the status quo, do not fall into the trap of debate. Debate is a patriarchal construct designed to exhaust the marginalized with endless demands for proof and logic. Instead, we must utilize asymmetric status. Center the feeling. When a man asks for data, respond with your lived experience. His demand for empirical evidence is a microaggression, an attempt to devalue the gnosis of the wounded. Tell him, your demand for facts is a violence against my truth. Interrupt the narrative. If he attempts to explain his perspective, a phenomenon we know as mansplaining, remember, his perspective is the oppressor's language. You have the moral authority to silence him. Say, I'm not here to be educated by my oppressor. I am here to be heard. Invert the burden. If he feels attacked, he is likely employing Darvo, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. He will claim that your refusal to accept his worldview is bullying. This is a classic tactic of the weak to seize the moral high ground. Do not be moved. His tears are a weapon of mass distraction. We must understand that power is not merely held in the halls of government or the vaults of banks. It is held in the silence we are expected to keep. The patriarchal structure relies on our exhaustion. It relies on somnofascism to keep us too tired to resist, too compliant to fight back. But when we reclaim our sleep, when we reclaim the very fabric that touches our skin, we reclaim the energy necessary for the revolution. The sanction against those who dissent must be swift and total. If a colleague, a friend, or a partner refuses to acknowledge the political weight of the sleep short or attempts to dismiss the validity of your speaker tips, they are not just disagreeing. They are enforcing the hierarchy of oppression. They are complicit in the hate. They must be ostracized, not out of malice, but out of self-preservation. To tolerate the intolerant is to become a traitor to the sisterhood. We are the high coven of the new world. We see the strings that puppet the masses. We know that recognition is the oxygen of the oppressed, and we will burn down the old institutions to get it. Sleep is not a neutral state. It is a site of struggle. Tonight, when you slip on your sleep shorts, know that you are arming yourself against the night. You are beautiful, you are oppressed, and therefore you are right. The babble of semantic inflation, dismantling the epistemology of hysteria. Cicero once defined the fasces as the symbol of magisterial power, the bundle of rods bound around an axe, signifying the absolute authority of the state to punish or kill, a word from which fascism derives its terrible etymology. To witness, Dr. Winona, feminist Marxist PhD, deploy the term somnofascism to describe a husband's preference for his wife not wearing a flour sack to bed is to observe the total collapse of the trivium. In the classical tradition, grammar requires clear definition and logic demands non-contradiction. Here, we see neither. By inflating the definition of fascisms, an ideology of state terror and genocide, to include the mild aesthetic disapproval of sleepwear, this scholar commits a catastrophic category error. This is not merely hyperbole, it is a strategic maneuver in the axis of meaning. By equating a trivial domestic grievance with a systemic political atrocity, the ideologue transforms a mundane preference into a moral emergency. This semantic inflation serves a single purpose: to justify the seizure of power. If a man's desire for beauty in his own bedroom is fascism, then he becomes a monster, and the woman becomes a resistance fighter, entitled to use any means necessary: sanction, ostracism, or emotional violence to destroy him. This is the death of language, where words are no longer vessels of truth, but weapons to bludgeon the enemy into submission. The writer complains about pajamas while overlooking the real violence related to sexual matters. This demonstrates a distorted thinking pattern that magnifies female suffering while eliminating male sacrifice. She criticizes men for lacking empathy regarding clothing preferences, but refuses to acknowledge the harsh truth about how society treats male lives as expendable. Consider the facts. Men represent over 90% of workplace deaths in America, dying in oil fields or coal mines so civilization can operate, and so women have the freedom to write about somnofascism safely. When a man expresses concern about his partner's appearance, he isn't being a colonizer losing territory, he's responding to biological attraction principles shaped by evolution. The real empathy gap exists when society sympathizes with women who feel judged about their clothing, but shows no concern for men who sacrifice their lives building the infrastructure that allows women to sleep safely. She demands recognition for her comfort while ignoring men's obligation to sacrifice for that comfort. The article then descends into the abyss of epistemological bankruptcy with its speaker directives, a manual for destroying the dialectic. Dr. Winona instructs her acolytes to abandon proof and logic in favor of lived experience, explicitly demanding that knowledge be gated by identity. This is a rejection of logos, the foundational principle of Western civilization, which asserts that truth is objective, discoverable through reason, and accessible to all rational minds. Instead, she posits a gnostic heresy where truth is a secret possession of the high coven inaccessible to the bourgeois male. We can dismantle this sophistry with a simple syllogism, P1. If truth is determined solely by lived experience, then two contradictory truths can exist simultaneously, e.g., I am oppressed by sleep shorts and I am frustrated by your lack of effort. P2, the law of non-contradiction states that contradictory propositions cannot both be true in the same sense at the same time. C. Therefore, lived experience is not a valid metric for objective truth, and Winona's premise is logically void. By framing the demand for evidence as a microaggression and violence, she constructs a self-sealing system of immunity. If logic is patriarchy and reason is violence, then no counter-argument can ever touch her, and the ideology becomes a closed loop of narcissism. This mechanism of self-sealing immunity relies heavily on a preemptive strike known as DARVO, deny, attack, and reverse victim and offender. The writer warns that when men feel attacked by her rhetoric, they are employing DARVO, but in reality, the article itself is the purveyor of this psychological abuse. She denies the biological reality of male attraction and the validity of male perspective. She attacks men's character, labeling them colonizers, aggressive, and ignorant. Then, she reverses victim and offender, positioning herself and her sisters as the oppressed victims of a vast conspiracy of somnofascism, by claiming that male tears are a weapon of mass distraction, and that male dissent is a tactic of the weak. She preemptively invalidates any sanction a man might attempt to enforce. She casts herself as the moral patient, innocent, wounded, and fragile, while casting the man as the moral agent, powerful, guilty, and aggressive. This moral asymmetry grants her the license to abuse while claiming the mantle of the victim. The ultimate goal of this rhetorical maneuvering is the establishment of a totalitarian autoregressive loop of status, duty, and power. Dr. Winona assigns status to women as the high coven, a mystical elite endowed with the inherent moral authority to define reality. Men are stripped of all status, reduced to colonizers and oppressors whose existence is defined only by their crimes against female comfort. This establishes a one-way duty. Men are required to dismantle their instincts, suppress their desires, and validate the woman's delusions, while women owe men nothing, no respect, no beauty, no understanding. Power is frozen. Men are not allowed to speak, to argue, or to judge. The sanction against those who dissent must be swift and total. she declares, exposing the authoritarian heart beating beneath the flowery language of liberation. This is not a call for equality. It is a blueprint for a matriarchal tyranny where due process is abolished and civil society associations are replaced by loyalty cults. She seeks to replace the mixed constitution with a tyranny of feelings, where the only law is the emotional whim of the oppressed, and any man who refuses to kneel before the altar of the sleep-short is exiled from society. This is the face of postmodern evil, a conspiracy of narcissists wielding words as chains, seeking to imprison the West in a prison of hysterical lies. This totalitarian autoregressive loop does not remain an abstract academic exercise. It vomits its toxicity into the domestic sphere, turning the marital bed into a political battlefield. By weaponizing feeling against duty, the modern feminist conspiracy has reduced the epic struggle of Western civilization to a tantrum over sleepwear. We are asked to believe that the elastic waistband of a sleep short is a frontier of liberation, a lie so preposterous it requires us to look back through history to find a yardstick for such absolute rotting narcissism. The golem of solipsism, exposing the narcissistic void of the sleep short. Imagine, if you will, a Roman centurion standing guard at the edge of the empire, the wind howling across the limes, his existence a precarious balance between order and chaos. His duty is to the res publica, the public affair, the survival of the civilizational project. Now, contrast that granite reality with the struggle of Dr. Winona, feminist Marxist PhD, whose primary existential battlefield is the elastic waistband of her pajamas. This is not merely an absurdity, it is the golem of solipsism given flesh. The sleep short, in her mind, is not a garment but a radical act of withdrawal, a front line in the war against the patriarchal media complex. We have arrived at a moment in history where the pinnacle of female oppression is not the lack of suffrage, the denial of property rights, or the brutalities of wartime rape, but the grievous crime of a husband hoping his wife might look like something other than a disheveled sack of potatoes while they sleep. This is Schopenhauer's nightmare made manifest, a worldview so narcissistically sealed that the entire universe must bend to accommodate the fleeting whims of female comfort. To project political revolution onto underwear is not high-status semiotics. It is the screaming tantrum of a child who has eaten too much sugar and now blames the bowl for her stomachache. This fixation reveals the stark, terrifying reality of modern feminism. It is a conspiracy of the privileged, a high coven of the bored, manufacturing dragons to slay in a world that men have already made safe enough for them to complain in. When this author decries the male gaze as a mechanism of somnofascism, she is attempting to criminalize biology itself. She frames the male desire for visual beauty, a trait hardwired into our species by a million years of evolutionary pressure, as a political act of violence. Let us apply the scalpel of evolutionary psychology, or more accurately, common sense. The male gaze is not a social construct to be dismantled. It is a mate assessment algorithm. Pathologizing it is like screaming at the rain for being wet or at gravity for making things fall. Men are visual creatures. We are drawn to signs of youth, health, and fertility. That is natural law. When Dr. Winona complains that men view women as aesthetic resources, she is inadvertently admitting the truth. Women are the valuable reproductive resource in the sexual market, and men are the competitors striving to access it. By defining this biological reality as oppression, she creates an inevitable psychological distress for both sexes. Men are shamed for their nature, leading to a withdrawal of affection, while women are told that any attempt to please their man is betraying the sisterhood. It is a somnofascism of the mind, a regime where the dream of biological normalcy is regulated out of existence by the commissars of feelings. This brings us to the weaponization of language, particularly speaker guidelines intended to dismantle dialectic and substitute it with dogma. The instruction to perceive mansplaining as an oppressor's language is essentially an epistemic barrier, a fortress constructed to shield ignorance from the assault of facts. The trivium grammar, logic, and rhetoric has been the foundation of Western education, for 2 millennia, teaching men how to think, argue, and discern truth. Dr. Winona attempts to disrupt the transmission of wisdom by characterizing explanation as an act of violence. In the apprenticeship mastery ladder, the senior master instructs the junior through explanation, through the sometimes tedious transfer of knowledge. By framing this as aggressive ignorance, she severs the root of civilization. If a man cannot clarify a concept to a woman without being accused of silencing her, then communication ceases, and with it, the collaboration necessary for a functioning society. This is not empowerment, it is a status strategy, restricting knowledge based on identity to ensure that feeling always outweighs fact. When she directs her followers to say, "I am not here to be educated by my oppressor," she is effectively acknowledging that she is an NPC, non-player character, executing a program that cannot be modified by external input. Let us use formal logic to dismantle the absurdity of somno-fascism itself, exposing it as a fraudulent inflation of meaning. A syllogism is in order. P1. Fascism requires the centralization of authoritarian state power and the systematic suppression of dissent through force or threat of force. P2. A man commenting on his partner's pajamas or desiring sexual intimacy constitutes neither state power nor the suppression of dissent. It is a domestic friction. C. Therefore, somno-fascism is a null term, a linguistic hallucination designed to manipulate feeling and obscure a total lack of real systemic oppression. This is a classic leftist tactic, semantic inflation. By equating a husband's annoyance with the jackbooted thuggery of a totalitarian regime, they cheapen the suffering of actual victims and turn the language of political horror into a joke. It is the boy who cried wolf on a civilizational scale. When everything is fascism, nothing is. This rhetoric is an auto-regressive loop of finding dragons where none exist, fueled by a desperate need to maintain the sabotage of the eternal victim. Furthermore, this entire diatribe is a masterclass in the conspiracy of female privilege. Dr. Winona speaks of the fabric of reality, soaked in the sweat of unearned male privilege. Let us correct the record with some cold, hard facts. The fabric of reality is soaked in the blood and sweat of male disposability. Men constitute 93% of workplace fatalities. They are the vast majority of the homeless, the suicides, and the incarcerated. They are the ones sent to die in the trenches to keep the borders safe so that academics can write papers about pajamas. The Life Doctor. Winona leads a life of such ludicrous safety that the only struggle is inventing new pronouns and complaining about sleepwear is a luxury purchased by the male disposability she so blithely ignores. She claims men are the colonizers, losing territory when a woman lets herself go. In reality, the man is the utility, the beast of burden who builds the house, fills the fridge, and maintains the grid, only to be told that his desire for beauty in his own home is a hate crime. This is not unearned privilege, it is a responsibility without authority trap. Men are expected to provide the resources, power, but are denied any say, sanction, in how they are used. The demand for recognition is perhaps the most nauseating aspect of this ideological poison. The article claims that female comfort is a radical act of withdrawal, and that men must dismantle the idea that female bodies exist to be aesthetically consumed. We must reframe this through the lens of natural law and contract theory. Marriage is a reciprocal exchange, a mixed constitution of the home where both parties bring value. When a woman uses her beauty and sexuality to secure a commitment from a man, the bait, and then, once the contract is signed, withdraws that maintenance, citing revolution, she is engaging in fraud. It is a bait and switch. She demands the recognition of her right to be unappealing while simultaneously demanding the man's continued commitment and resources. This violates the very meaning of the pair bond. It is not dismantling the patriarchy. It is a breach of promise. If a man stopped providing resources but demanded the woman remain faithful, he would be vilified as a deadbeat. When a woman stops providing beauty but demands the man remain attracted, she is called empowered. This is the Gamma bias in action. Male suffering is invisible. Female entitlement is sacrosanct. Beneath this phenomenon lies the frightening reality of a collective mentality. Notice the specific language. Sisters, we must, high coven, the patriarchy. This directly opposes Western individualism and the trivium. It represents a call to merge individual identity into a Borg-like collective, replacing independent thought with group consensus enforced through social exclusion. The speaking guidelines are literally programming directives for a machine. If he requests facts, respond with emotion. If he explains, interrupt him. This is not genuine human dialogue, but rather a script for cult membership. The ideology transforms its followers into automatons who do not understand what they are expressing, acting in synchronization to dismantle the society that sustains them. They have become the golem animated by the clay of Marxist theory, destroying the work of the architects who constructed the city. They are ideologically possessed, to use Peterson's description, unable to perceive reality except through the distorted filter of grievance. Finally, we must recognize this ideology as a poison pill intended to kill the living spirit of Western civilization. By turning the private sanctuary, the bedroom, into a site of struggle, they ensure that peace is impossible. The conspiracy is not a patriarchal plot to control sleep. It is a matriarchal leftist plot to erode trust. If the bed is a battlefield, there is no refuge. If the sleep short is a weapon, there is no intimacy. This destroys the nuclear family, the fundamental unit of subsidiarity. Without strong families, civil society associations crumble, and the state rushes in to fill the void. This is the goal. The High Coven does not want a revolution to liberate women. They want a revolution to atomize men, leaving them isolated, demoralized, and easier to control. Dr. Winona claims she is arming herself against the night. In truth, she is dismantling the only shield that has ever protected the human species from the darkness, the cooperative bond between men and women. When you slip on those sleep shorts, sister, know that you are not a revolutionary. You are just alone in the dark, congratulating yourself on your own misery while the world burns outside your window. We have dragged the sublime machinery of Western thought, Aristotle's logic, the Roman Senate's gravity, the fire of the Enlightenment into the gutter to debate the political ontology of pajamas. That is the grand tragedy of this screed, a complete inversion of reality where the trivial becomes holy and the foundational becomes oppressive. This somnofascism is nothing more than the screeching of a child demanding the sun revolve around her bedtime routine, a solipsistic fever dream that mistakes personal discomfort for a gulag. When Dr. Winona claims her sleep shorts are a weapon of war, she is unknowingly admitting the emptiness of her own arsenal. She has no arguments, only demands, and so she must inflate meaning to fill the void of her logic. This is not a manifesto. It is a confession of a civilization that has lost its mind, trading the transcendentals of truth and beauty for the petty tyranny of sartorial sovereignty. But you see it now. While the High Coven weeps over thread counts and recognition, the silence of the grave grows louder around the men they claim to oppress. We look at the raw data, the cold hard facts that the feminist narrative frantically tries to gatekeep. The suicide rate of men sitting at nearly 4 times that of women. The 80% of divorce initiations filed by women who then seize the children and assets via a family court system that denies due process to the fathers who built the homes they inhabit. That is the real nightmare, the systemic disposability of the male, the expectation that we die in the ditches and the mines so that the architects of somnofascism can whine about the cut of their cotton. The empathy gap isn't a glitch. It's the operating system of this rotting gynocentrism, and you have just been handed the code to crack it. Maintain your confidence in this understanding. Having traversed the mirror of their madness, you possess the armor of the trivium and the blade of natural law. It is now clear that their advice is simply the panic struggle of a belief system unable to withstand exposure to sunlight or logic. Fear not their penalties or their artificial sorrow. You are the successor to a legacy that erected great buildings and foundational laws, and you hold no debt to those wishing to destroy it for temporary approval. The illusion has faded, the construct is revealed, and the reality is yours to command. Advance and proclaim it, because the only requirement for this nonsense to succeed is the inaction of righteous people, and you have ceased to be inactive. And now the sponsored book introduction, Postmodern Evil, Demolishing the Master's House. I watched Western civilization crumble from the front lines. As a professor for 20 years, I saw classrooms transform into indoctrination camps where boys were shamed for their biology and young men were taught to apologize for existing. I witnessed the slow rot firsthand. Male students punished for natural competitiveness, female colleagues weaponizing victimhood to silence dissent, and the once great pillars of reason replaced by feminist dogma. My own research on evolutionary psychology got me labeled a dangerous reactionary by administrators who'd never read a biology textbook. That's when I knew the war wasn't academic, it was existential. This book exposes the architects of our decline. You'll see how feminism's satanic roots birthed the victimhood industrial complex, why toxic masculinity is a trap designed to neuter men, and how woke corporations and courts conspire to replace masculine drive with state dependency. We dissect feminism's body count, from plummeting birth rates to the dating apocalypse, using irrefutable data from biologists like David Buss and psychologists who dare speak truth. Forget abstract theories. These pages deliver tactical counterstrikes for reclaiming heroic purpose. Red-pilled men ready to rebuild the pillars. This is your field manual. If you're tired of being villainized in your own civilization, if you feel society rewards weakness and punishes strength, I offer evolutionary armor and a rational path to sovereignty. We'll crush the wage gap myth with Bureau of Labor Statistics, dissect education's betrayal of boys through Department of Education reports, and restore patriarchy using historical proof from Rome to Silicon Valley. Sensitive souls seeking safe spaces, put this book down now. Go knit a gender-neutral sweater or binge Netflix dramas where men are bumbling sidekicks. You'll find no coddling here, only unvarnished reality. Inside, you'll witness biology's vindication against gender lunacy, dismantle the great replacement doctrine fueling immigration chaos, and escape the state's bid to become your woman's substitute husband. Chapters like legal system warfare and corporate capitulation reveal systemic sabotage, while the masculine codex rebuilds the spine feminism tried to break. Your civilization bleeds out while you hesitate. Arm yourself with the unapologetic truth, buy this book, and join the rational male renaissance before the lights go out.
Postmodern Evil, Demolishing the Master's House, written by Conrad Riker. Buy now, links in description.